Game week 12 in the Premier League, and things are really starting to take shape. Chelsea and City play the best Premier League game of the season. Bournemouth shock Newcastle, and the wheels start to fall off for Spurs' dead title charge. All of that and more on today's episode From the Backseat. And joining me today, I've got old head Chelsea correspondent Joseph Doherty. Hello, Joe. How are you?
Good afternoon. Very well, boys. Very well. How are you?
I'm good. I like you said good afternoon, even though it's like 8 o'clock at night. I respect that. The myth that we're doing this on Sunday afternoon right after the game is strong,
Exactly.
and I appreciate
that.
Good
evening, we should say.
Good evening. And on for not his debut anymore. He's in the squad. He's made the cut. It's our new Liverpool correspondent, Ashley Jones. Hello, Ash. How are you, mate?
Yeah, all good, bro. All good.
It's a great week to have these two on because although Chelsea did win, they did play the best game of the season, and I feel like overall they're getting more credit than City, and Liverpool had a really comfy win. So it should be a nice pod. All things considered, it's a shame that we couldn't get Belle on from a Tottenham perspective, but from what I understand, she's not taking any requests right now after 2 defeats. But more on that later. So there's only one place to start, really. Chelsea 4, Man City 4. When did Chelsea get so exciting? 8 goals in their last 2 games after not scoring any goals all year. They've literally just scoring them all now, right now, this week. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is all the goals for the rest of the year. I don't know. But I was actually supporting Chelsea in this game by the end, which it doesn't happen very often, if ever. And I was literally gagging for Chelsea to just get something by the end.
It does feel wrong, doesn't it?
It felt dirty, but that's what Man City have done to everyone. They make you do things you just never thought you would. Break lines you never thought you would. But yeah.
Thank you for the support, gentlemen. It's nice to see that you're on the blue side of London for once.
It's the only time.
Exactly.
Literally.
I think actually this whole excitement was kind of building from the Tottenham match. And this is obviously why Belle's not here today. She couldn't quite deal with having the walk of shame for this show. But I must say, just going back to that, seeing as we weren't able to talk on it before, well done Tottenham. They played very well. They had, with 9 men, they defended staunchly, and I must say, well done to the team. And
is anyone else getting like Pep Guardiola after they absolutely pump someone 5-0? It's like, they're so good at football. They're unbelievable.
Very,
really.
Very rarely do I praise Tottenham, but it was good for them. And pretty good show from City as well. I mean, they weren't bad in this match. But they lost.
Right.
They drew me to a better team, I must say.
I think that with City, we're so used to seeing them pump smaller teams, right? And I think they went into that game with the mentality that Chelsea aren't Chelsea of old. They're Chelsea that we've all known to love recently, who are shit, and thought that they could do them over. And Chelsea were resolute. So fair play to you, boys.
Well, what we actually saw was, I would say, a tactical masterclass from Pochettino, if I must say, in the way that we set up to get them on the transition. I don't know if you guys saw Rodri's interview after the match, but he said exactly that. He said that Chelsea stopped us playing our game, and they've aimed to get us on the transition every single time. That's why we had Sterling on the pitch. That's why we had Gallagher pressing at any time. Jackson as well. He's very fond of a press. So, and what you actually saw was any time City set up trying to play the ball to Rodri as a single CDM, we were just ready to pounce, ready to go at any point. You often saw also Cole Palmer playing a position where he was pulling some of the defenders out to the side so that Rodri was left on his own for that transitionary stance. And you see that actually is how we got to most of our goals during this game. So even with their attacking might, which obviously City have, obviously they were showing, we were able to get one back through a bit of tactical masterstroke from Pochettino, and I'm here for it.
I don't disagree.
Fair play. I think that. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't disagree. I think that Poch set out to do the right thing. He'd stop them from playing their game, which is a hard thing to do. There's not many teams that can do it. I think when Rodri scored, usually when Rodri scores, it means that they win because it's usually a last-minute thunder bastard. But
and it was again.
Fair play. You didn't stop. A lot of teams would have been deflated at that point, and you carried on. And then, the City boy, now Chelsea's man, as what's his name said, the commentator. steps up, scores a goal, and I think that he's really been the catalyst. We were talking about that change. 8 goals in 2 games. I think that he's sort of been that catalyst of change, and I still think Jackson's a bit of a donkey, but fair play, he got a goal as well, and
he works hard though. He's a workhorse, isn't he? That's what he's bringing right now. His finishing's a bit off, but he does still have 7 goals in the Premier League, so it's hard.
He's Origi. He reminds me of Divock Origi.
He might be. That's not a bad shout, That's not a bad shout.
I can't really judge that because Divock Origi was very good. He was your
a scorer of iconic goals, but not many goals.
But
big man for a big game.
We're talking about Jackson in a way that, as you say, he's a bit of a donkey, he's a bit of this, he's a bit of that. But he's got the same amount of goals as Alexander Isak. And look how much people are talking about him. He's got the same amount of goals as, I have to check this one, but I believe Wilson as well, if not one less than Wilson. So
it's a fair thing to say, but then look at the Chelsea squad versus look at the Newcastle squad. Like, you would expect Jackson to get goals. They've got creative players in there. They've got players who can get in front of goal. But Newcastle are just a well-oiled team, right? So their goals, I don't think Newcastle aren't going to have a 20-goal season striker, whereas Jackson could be a 20-goal season striker with the force that you've got. It's just about unlocking that. And maybe, this is the start of seeing it. You have to remember he's only 22. He's only been playing professionally for 3 years. If you compare his stats to Drogba's first 3 years to now, he's already ahead of him. So, yeah.
Yeah, first season in the Premier League as well, coming from the Spanish league, where often you put on a bit of weight when you come from the Spanish league to the Premier League to try and put yourself against these defensive powerhouses. So I wouldn't be surprised if over the season you see Jackson put on a bit of weight, put on a bit of muscle. Next season come in a bit stronger, and dare I say it, come in looking a bit more like big old Didier. I don't know.
As long as it's not Lukaku, mate, you'll be happy.
I was going to say, yeah.
Could go wrong with the other.
Yeah. But I think that, Chelsea showed anyway that they've got what it takes to fight with the big boys. I think they showed it against Liverpool as well. They showed it against Tottenham. I think the thing that you're missing is just a core figurehead in that midfield. I think that, Thiago Silva is obviously a fantastic leader. He's a great player, but he's quite quiet. He's quite reserved. I think you boys need like a 26, 27-year-old bulldozer of a midfielder and someone who's just going to lead from the front. And I think Gallagher's doing a great job, but he's not got that authority that's going to drive the team forward. And I think that's what will unlock the likes of Caicedo and Enzo and ultimately you as a team. Because on paper, you should be doing what you did the other day to City.
Let me ask you boys another stat. Who would you say in the Premier League right now, if you were to say who's the assist maker, who's like the main player that you'd look at and say, oh yeah, that guy gets assists?
What, this
Darwin
season?
Núñez.
Darwin Núñez, yes, but it's Pedro Neto, isn't it? He's got the most assists.
Yes, Pedro Neto is the top assist maker. Darwin Núñez, you said, he's got 4 assists. Gallagher has 4 assists. Another one that you might say, James Ward-Prowse, 5 assists. Gallagher has 4 assists. James Maddison, 5 assists. Gallagher has 4 assists. So you look at a player who's getting the numbers of these other big assist makers from that point.
This season.
Exactly.
I do feel like he's gone up a level this season. And I get it now. He's a closer. I actually understand. I understand the Chelsea midfield. He's all energy. He's the guy who Mason Mount was supposed to be, basically, or Mason Mount at his best. That's the role he's going for. Like, all action, box to box. Jordan Henderson, just really fucking annoying with, like, unlimited energy. Like, he'll still be doing that last-ditch tackle to save a goal in the 98th minute, for example. And then, like, Caicedo's just a bit of a destroyer. Enzo's just like that silky, link-up Jorginho-style guy, but with more legs. So I get it. On paper, it's actually very logical. They've actually created a really good midfield. Very expensive midfield. But it does make a lot of sense, and you can see it all coming together in these games. It's against the smaller teams where I think they struggle a bit. There's not Liverpool had the same problem. It's like the midfield's super functional. It makes sense, but when teams don't give you space behind them, like the big teams do, how do you break them down? And then we got Jackson not taking his chances as greedily as he'd like. That's where Chelsea struggle, I think. But against the big teams, they're actually really good. They're really solid. Yeah. This awful run of fixtures that they had on paper of like Arsenal, Newcastle, City, Manchester United, whoever the fuck it was, this might actually be really good for them. This might actually help them build up a bit of confidence and get some good results because they're already way ahead of where I thought they'd be. I thought they were going to get 3 points, and they've got
But then the question is, who have they got next? Right, because they're then due to get pumped by someone like Bournemouth. Right, it's just the way Chelsea are at the moment. It's do you know what I
mean? We've got Newcastle away next. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, perfect time to play them.
It is perfect time to play them.
But
as Kieran Trippier was moaning about, they're a wounded dog at the moment, right? Having fights with fans talking about being a wounded dog. So
that's true. But a player that I think everyone would like to hear us talk about on the pod just quickly would be Cole Palmer. We've touched on him a little bit before, but if you think about him, he's a very interesting player. You watch him play, you don't think he's particularly fast. You don't think he's got a particular pinger on him. I mean, he has got a pretty good left foot, but then you see Pochettino, and this is an interesting quote Pochettino came out with, because they asked him, who would you liken Cole Palmer to be as a player? Who would you say that he's similar to?
Is it Havertz?
No. Strangely enough, no, it wasn't. It sounds like taking the piss.
That's just what I'm... No, that's honestly what I was expecting. Silky left-footed, not that fast. He's everything you hope Havertz would be.
So it's Di Maria. He said if you look at his movement, he's quite similar to how Di Maria plays.
It's major compliment.
But Di Maria is also hella techie, and Cole Palmer, he's good, but I wouldn't say he's hella techie. But I will say that Cole Palmer is what people think that Phil Foden is. Phil Foden is good. He's class. He can't play more than 60 minutes. Cole Palmer's proving that he can, and he can get the goals when it's needed of him. Unlike Phil Foden, who will score them when everyone else has scored. And I think that they're going to. He's a fraud. Regret.
Phil Foden is a fraud. That's what I'm hearing.
Phil Foden's a class player, but I think that Cole Palmer will be have a better career than Phil Foden individually, not trophies because it's at City.
No, get that on Instagram.
Oh, that's spicy.
Get that on TikTok. That's spicy.
Yeah, I like that.
Let's go get it.
I don't know if I agree, but what a fucking coup that would be for Chelsea. I always thought it was a weird transfer. Like, you don't sell your best youngsters generally. I just don't get it. I know it's a financial fair play thing, so I do get it, but like...
Yeah, Palmer also said he wanted to go, apparently. That's what Pep came out with this week. Pep said, Mahrez is gone, and he said to Cole Palmer face-to-face, Mahrez is out, you've got a chance. Palmer said, no, I want to go. I want to get regular football, and I don't think I'm going to get it here.
I never thought he'd get it at Chelsea with like the millions of signings. I never thought he'd be one of the first names on the team sheet this early.
Yeah, Madueke's kind of fallen off the map a little bit.
So many of them had to, mate. You couldn't just keep finding a place for like 30 players. It was inevitable. But he's good, so I rate it.
Overall,
let's talk about a few moments. I'm getting really sick of Man City getting shitty, cheap penalties in the big games. I'm just going to throw it out there. I don't think that was a foul, Cucurella and Haaland, because they're just grappling each other. They're grappling each other. One's massive, one's pretty normal size. It's just dumb. In my opinion, it's just so dumb. And Man City get too many easy decisions, and they can get fucked.
It's just constant. It's honestly constant. Did you see the Kyle Walker handball? Has to be the most blatant handball I've ever seen, and it just nothing. He literally punched the ball.
Nothing. Exactly.
And I think the penalty was just a joke, but I don't know. It feels like they're exempt to VAR unless it's in their favour. It's just dumb. I just said Cucurella is like the size of Haaland's calf. He couldn't even take him down if he wanted to, right?
Literally. You're so right. I wonder if VAR goes on a separate channel when it's a Man City game. It's like rerouting. It just goes straight to the Middle East and then it just never comes back. And they're like, well, guess we'll just stick with the on-field decision.
Just leave it there, yeah.
Sorry, nothing's coming in.
Also, boys, though, I don't want to just be like taking out my big list of Chelsea players and going down and talking about each one.
It does seem like you're going to, so let's try and make this the last one.
We'll make this the last one, but can we just talk about the resurgence of Cucurella? I mean, fuck me. That's a player who's coming back into form, isn't he?
It's gone a bit over my head. I'm not going to lie to you, mate. This is news to me.
Watching every single game, Cucurella has played in the last 4 games in some way or form. He's really hitting back form. The Chelsea fans that I've spoken to are starting to really get back into him, and even saying that Cucurella is our best left back right now, even with Ben Chilwell up and back to fitness. So
yeah, but I think fair play. I don't watch Chelsea like that. I think that's a harsh assessment on Chilwell. I mean, wasn't he your second top scorer last year with 10 goals and Reece James with 12 or something like that? Like from left back, that's pretty
we're playing
naughty.
a different system now, mate. We're playing that was a left wing back system. We're now playing a left back system. So that's why Poch was playing Chilwell when he was playing him up in a left wing position, because he knew that Ben couldn't play as well in the left back position after all of these injuries as he used to do at Leicester City. I certainly want Ben in. I mean, he's my vice captain, right? But if Reece is injured, I'll put Ben as the captain. But at the end of the day, like right now, Cucurella is doing really well. I'm all here for it.
Yeah, you don't got the man in form.
He got shit on for so long, and I'm just here to see the boy get back into form. I like it.
He did indeed. Many times on this pod as well, because I still believe he's rubbish, but whatever. If we're going to praise him,
it makes me feel better. He's got a wonderful Barnet.
He does. I mean, I will always remember that foul where someone just pulled his hair, just pulled it to the floor, and that wasn't given. So give the man a break, literally. Does anyone want to add anything else about this game? Because it was obviously excellent, and I really have a great segue, but I feel like we haven't done it justice yet. So I'm willing to forego the great segue for a bit more Chelsea Man City, if you guys want it.
I mean, I'd say the only person that didn't get a mention was Sterling, who was probably man of the match for me. I think he was just constant, up, down. He looked like the Sterling of old. Now, whether or not he can replicate that type of performance, obviously you're going back to your old club. It takes a lot for me to compliment Sterling after he left us to go to City.
It's been long enough now, hasn't it?
It's been great to see like him suffering at Chelsea, but no, I think fair play to him. That was a captain's performance. I know he wasn't the captain on the day, but he put in a captain's performance and sort of really, really, drove Chelsea forward. So I think that's it. That's the only other thing I'd add. But
I think that's fair. He is one of the only senior players in that sort of like entering their peak. Like maybe he's the only one in the starting lineup, actually. Really. So he is basically the leader of the pitch. They need him to be.
He's now reaching.
He's not exactly entering his peak, though, is he? He's just been at his peak for about 15 years.
I was going to say, I don't think he has a peak. He's just been consistently world class.
That was an unbelievable header as well for the corner.
I
don't get it. Sign him up for another year. He's still got it. Like, there's no need to move him on.
The big question on everyone's lips right now, though, is when we look at Southgate and his picks for England, should he have picked Sterling? I think so, of course. I'm a Chelsea fan, but I'd like to get your guys' thoughts on that.
I initially thought yes, but then I've thought about it more, and there's no point chopping and changing the team all the time. Like, if the England team's playing well and they're winning, just keep the same team. Like, you only change the team when it's broken. It'll be a bit like, like club football. Obviously, this is Chelsea, so this is probably not going to make that much sense to you. But like, if the team's playing well, just keep the team, keep it as it is. You don't just change it for the sake of it. And Rashford does generally deliver for England, even though he's shit for United. He does generally deliver for England. But I'd say get rid of Grealish if I was going to get rid of anyone, because he's actually not playing. I'd defo get rid of Hendo for James Ward-Prowse. But
yeah. But then you say that you could, with Maddison injured at the moment, you could always take Maddison out and bring in Sterling, right? So
I think they brought in Cole Palmer instead for this couple of games.
Fair
decent.
Play.
Very decent.
Interesting choice.
I bet he'll play better than Phil Foden.
Mate, those two are going to get compared to each other constantly, because they actually are very, very similar. Come from the same place, left-footers, English. It's going to be fun. It's like Darwin Núñez and Haaland. One of them's just going to be massively better than the other. And it's going to be...
Núñez? I'm telling you right now, I know we're not on that segment, but as an all-round footballer, Darwin Núñez is a better player than Haaland. But Haaland just knows where to be at the right time. He's also got KDB pinging everything on a sixpence for him. But Darwin Núñez is a better all-round footballer than Haaland.
This is it. Fact. Even when we're on another game, you can't help but talk about him. So Liverpool 3, Brentford 0. Darwin Núñez, 2 offside goals, including 1 offside bicycle kick goal. Even when he doesn't score, it's all we can talk about. It's all we can see. And he did get a nice assist for Salah. All 9 of his assists for Liverpool since he joined are to Salah. So even when he's not finishing that well, what you see is that he's trying to be what Firmino was, in that he creates space for Salah to exploit. He takes runners away from Salah, who's always getting double marked or triple marked. And in doing so, he's unlocking Salah's best form. And that is a positive. Even if his finishing is really fucking unpredictable, his effort and just his chaotic nature is bringing the best out of Mo Salah. So it's probably not talked about enough, I'd say.
Yeah, and I think that their link-up ability, has been second to none. They both seem to know where each other's going to be at all times. And although Nunes obviously isn't taking a chance in the same way we'd like him, you'd like him to a Haaland, it will come. Like, it will come. It's just, I think that...
it might not come, but it's good enough. But we can dream, can't we?
It could happen.
It will. It will come. Same thing happened with Suarez. The difference is with Suarez is he had to do it all on his own, right? Mm-hmm. But Suarez, if you remember, needed like 13 chances to score one goal. The difference is he'd create 30 chances for himself all the time. I think Nunes needs to just be a bit more select, a bit more choice in the way that he, the way that he finishes. He has to think about it. Then he's, I don't know, fucks it every time, but. He also scores worldies, so
he needs to go back to that game against Newcastle. Actually, I remember you and me were sitting on the sofa in Copenhagen when you came to visit me. Lovely weekend. Just big up Copenhagen. All to the listeners, get a little trip over there, watch some good football. Watch FC Co smash Man United. That'd be fantastic.
They're doing bits, mate. Never been a better time to support FC Copenhagen.
To the point though, we were watching this on our sofa, Newcastle Liverpool. You look down and out. You look like the game was gone. And who stepped up?
Big old Darwin, mate. Big old Darwin.
Yes, with the same worldie twice.
Twice, yeah. I think the thing is, though, with what I love about Darwin is obviously he is Captain Chaos. You never know what you're going to get, but he never, ever gives up. Even if he misses a sitter, he's still up, he's still going, he's still, and I think that's something that we just, every team needs that player who's just constantly 1,000,000%. Mm-hmm. But look, I think in terms of the game, I mean, it's a class assist to Salah, quality finish from Salah. Both goals. Salah was the only one that didn't give up. Everyone thought the ball was out of play. Cheeky little nod in the back of the net, and then Diogo Jota with the inevitable. We're 2-0 up, so obviously Jota's going to score after being a ghost for the whole game, and it's going to be the best goal of the game, right?
Facts.
I think that just. We've come along so far from last season, and I actually think that, Virgil being given the captain's armband has just brought this new lease of life to the team. Virgil seems to be at his best again. Alisson's obviously Alisson, the best goalkeeper in the world. I don't think anyone could say otherwise. And there just seems to be a togetherness in the team. Cody Gakpo playing in midfield. If this was last year, he'd probably kick up a stink, right? Because why would I be playing in that midfield? But now... it doesn't matter who rotates in. There's still that camaraderie. There's still that togetherness. And I think that it's nice to see. I don't think we've got enough to win the league, although we're only 1 point off of City. I just think that unless we go out and buy a DM in January, I don't think we've got a chance. But I think that the team's come on leap and bounds from last year.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
We are dark horses, I'd say, of the Premier League.
Yeah, I think the thing is that out of all the teams... Like, we're not talking about
all the teams that are in the league at the moment. Yeah, we're the only one that knows how to get it done outside of City. I think people have kind of forgotten that, and even when we didn't win the league, we lost it by 1 point. Like, we got 103 points in a calendar, across the year, right? That's mental to lose to what I think it's 103 points out of 105 possible points. It was over a year period, which is mental. And we didn't win the league in that time.
Makes me sad.
Do you know what I mean? But
makes me so sad.
When we did win the league, we also won the league by Christmas. So we know how to get it done. I think that's gone under the radar with us this year. But at the same time, we won 3-0. I think it was a bit of a flattering result. Brentford at a couple of times should have scored. I mean, I think Alisson's the only goalkeeper in the world where he's the favourite in a 1v1.
Yeah,
he made not wrong there. Top draw save against. Yeah,
he's got that rare quality of just being massive. Where other goalies look quite small, or Onana just dives the wrong way. He's just massive, and he's so intimidating all the time. He's got that like Peter Schmeichel kind of thing, where you're just like, I'm fucked. I'm never going to score against this guy.
Yeah.
Brentford have a thing away from home, don't they? They don't seem to be getting too many away wins. They're very good at home. But
I think that the thing is with Brentford, though, it's you go to the Brentford Stadium, it's a very intimate place, right? It's everyone's on top. Look at what happened with us last week against Luton. Not that we should be losing and saying that on the crowd, but like it's one of those stadiums where they're on top of you. They're noisy fans, but you got to remember they're also missing Ivan Toney, right? They're missing their best player. He's the type of player that makes a difference in those away games, especially against the likes of a Liverpool.
I'll be missing him for a long time. I don't think they'll ever get over missing him because I'm pretty sure when he comes back in January, he's gone, mate. He's gone. He's going to be sorely missed. I'm proud to say that I hope that Chelsea's going to be one of the suitors when it comes to Ivan Toney's purchase. But
it'll make a lot of sense. He's just not in your profile though, but it'll make a lot of sense. No. If he was 23,
I said it last time out. I guarantee he'll go to someone like Aston Villa or even Newcastle. It won't be one of the big boy clubs because they won't risk it. He's too old, too many problems. Yeah, he scores goals, but doesn't score enough goals for them to be like, we're going to take the risk. It's not like he's a 30-goal a season striker. Like if Harry Kane got done for gambling, everyone would be after him still, but it's Ivan Toney, and that's the problem. So I think he'll end up at either Aston Villa or Newcastle.
I'm going to say Manchester United because they love a problem forward, especially someone who could get banned at any point. They bloody love that. For him to score no goals.
Imagine Ivan Toney,
they literally live
Martial, Jadon Sancho. They'll all be seen at a festival saying "fuck Man United" and it'll be just great, and I'll be here for it.
Prison FC. That's what they're about.
I still can't believe he's playing for Brentford.
What's his name?
To be fair,
I was going to say Tony after he was sagging him off.
Yeah. He's just such a fucking idiot, isn't he? He's so dumb. Like everything about him is just trying to fuck up his career, and yet because he's so good, it just still works. But he would never join Klopp's Liverpool.
Impossible. Right. That is literally an impossibility.
I feel like you have to give a shout out to one person. This is the segue that I wanted because we were talking about backup left backs outperforming their first choice left backs, and Tsimikas 2 assists in this game.
Big man Costas.
He's got 2 assists now in the Premier League. Any guesses for how many Robertson's got in 8 Premier League games this season?
1.
0. That's correct. He has none. Yeah. So it does beg a question. 2 assists, clean sheet. Generally looked excellent throughout the whole game. Is this... I feel like Robertson's been off the boil this season generally because he's had such high standards. Is this a natural maybe progression of Tsimikas taking over for the rest of the season, or not a chance? Okay, fine. Well,
not a chance.
We'll end that there.
I think that. Yeah, I think that. Look, don't get me wrong. Robbo is not the Robbo of old, but Costas Tsimikas can't. He can only do one thing or the other. He can either attack or he can defend. And when he defends, he's a little bit ropey. I think that obviously we already have that issue slightly on the other side with Trent. Then having that issue on the left-hand side as well. You can cover for one player, covering for 2 is an issue. With Robertson, you don't need to worry about that. I think that we do need a left back. That is one of our problem positions. I think that you can't rely on Robertson. His legs have gone slightly. He's he can't be the man who plays every single game, every single minute, every season anymore. But I don't think Costas Tsimikas is the answer. Don't get me wrong, he had a cracking game. But like the 3 games before that, he was shit.
That's very harsh, Ash. I really like him. I think he's quality. I think he's actually almost as good as Robertson.
No,
at least this current version of Robertson. No, he's so much better than that. He's so much better than that. That's so harsh.
No,
I was going to say what Liverpool really need is a Tsimikas at right back. They need someone who can give Trent a kick up the bum and know that. Trent drops the ball, I'm going to be in there. More solid defensively. Less assists.
Joey Gomez.
Yeah, Joe Gomez is just not that guy,
has been classed in the inverted wing-back role. He's actually looked like scoring
guy, though, is he? He's not that guy. We all know he's not that guy. He's just there for the quota. He's a homegrown quota filler. That's his job.
He's not homegrown.
He's club homegrown. We bought him at 18, so he counts. Yeah.
No, fair play. Fair play.
He's a very exclusive club homegrown player for us in what is otherwise a pretty mid guy.
Yeah, look, I think that both of them, we need to cover both sides. We need a DM. We could probably do with another centre half, although Quansah has been great this year. He's still young.
We definitely need a centre half, but I do like Quansah. It's nice to see. But yeah, Matip, I love the guy, but it's time to go now. He's had a great run. No. We've got good value out of him.
He can never go, but
might be time.
He's got to be like our. No. He'll stay on at the team, and he'll put in like one worldie a season, and that's all we need him for.
The days
he's like our Kolo Touré figure now.
He's like an antelope, like galloping up, and you're like, get out there, Joel. You got no right to be there. Those days are over, bro. Those days, he ain't got the legs for it anymore.
I still believe he's going to go on a trip one day this season and score a worldie.
I would love to see it, because Kolo Touré did that as well. He hit the crossbar, and we were just like, "Oh my god!" It's like his last game. That's all we want. Just one last tribute act of Joel Matip.
He is our Kolo Touré figure, where he shouldn't be at the club probably anymore, but you love him.
We're just not ruthless enough with getting rid of people.
He is a good player. He'd get into your team, in all fairness.
Lol.
I mean, he would. He's better than deserves.
Him and Thiago, imagine the legs on that. It'd be like,
right. It's all about positioning, They'd never get
exactly.
Mate, you put a ball in behind them two, it'd be like watching the grannies.
We had to suffer with Kyriakos and Carragher 2 seasons, all right?
Me. I forgot about that guy.
Our hope and joy was getting Kolo Touré at the end of his career. Okay?
God, that was a dark period. I'd say overall, and there are exceptions like Zlatan, if a footballer has a ponytail, that should be enough of a red flag to not buy them. That's just my personal opinion, but I can think of very few ponytail footballers that have come good.
I mean, Haaland, Darwin, ponytail's coming back, mate.
Fuck's sake, it really is. Oh, fuck me, it really is. All right, forget it. Theory's over. I'm wrong.
Yeah, forget everything. Forget everything you know.
Forget everything I've just said.
Mate, Gallagher's coming in with a ponytail.
I'd say that they all created the ponytail post transfer. They didn't arrive at the ponytail; they became the ponytail. But I am wrong. That's being semantic. Last question before the break. Man City away in 2 weeks for Liverpool. We have a pretty shambolic record there generally. How are you feeling about this game, Ash? And do you see any joy at all for Liverpool?
I see a Darwin Núñez hat-trick. No, jokes aside. Jokes aside. Yeah, I think that we definitely have got a chance. I think that, as I've said, if any team has that chance, it's us against them, because form goes out the window in those games. I think it's probably the biggest game of the season for City. I don't know. I reckon it'll be a tight one. I reckon it will either be like a 1-0 shitfest, or it's going to be like a 2-2.
Fair.
So I think they will win or we will draw.
Yeah, conspiracy theorists are already suggesting, because it's been moved from 5:30 to 12:30, which Jurgen Klopp absolutely hates when that happens. It does happen to Liverpool constantly. Bad signs already, bad omens. Probably a dirty VAR decision as well, and a penalty after Joel Matip rugby tackles someone. That's what I reckon.
We'll get some hope, like in the international break, Haaland will be injured, so will Phil Foden, and then all of a sudden they'll come back for the game and have absolute worldies, right?
I know exactly what's going to happen. Based on what you said today, Ashley, Phil Foden hat-trick. That's what's going to happen.
No.
All right.
Endo's going to dive into him with 2 feet and not receive a card.
I'd love to see that. I really like the guy. I don't think that was a red card either in this game, but
it wasn't a red card. It was very Paul Scholes-esque.
It was just really slow and non-dangerous. It was a shit challenge, but it was just so slow. Like, he just lied on the floor, basically.
I just love the fact that he just stood up and was like, "No, what's he doing? He's fine."
And who he's disagree? Like,
no.
He's just a nice Japanese guy. Like, he's a lovely guy. If anyone's got integrity, it's him. All right, let's take a break now, and then when we're back, we'll do some more games. Welcome back from a Backseat Football podcast. We had fun during the break, but less said about the better. Anyway, Wolves 2, Tottenham 1. Mate, what a wounder. Ange Postecoglou, 2 defeats, injury crisis, red cards, a backline of Eric Dyer and Ben Davies. It's all just very grim all of a sudden, and I'd say that's the end of their title charge. Lasted a whole 12 games. But I guess the more pressing question is, what happens next for Tottenham? Because they've got so many injuries and they have a really small squad. And although they only have one game a week, you do wonder if they're going to start sliding down into that murky Manchester United area. Because amazingly, Manchester United are only 5 points behind. So that could be 2 in 2 weeks' time.
Great.
It's just unbelievable.
They didn't enjoy playing Chelsea, did they? Lost 2 players to injury and 2 players to red card. I mean, you've got to feel for him a little bit. But, I mean, Van de Ven has been their shining light this season. And, Romero is a stupid guy, in putting very polite words. But but if you look at taking those 2 out, do you know who they were playing in defence against Wolves? I think it was Eric Dyer and Davies as their centre defensive partnership.
I continue to think that if you play Eric Dyer, you deserve to lose. There is no justification for him ever playing football out in the top flight. He's so shit.
Yeah, he's definitely not great. Is a polite way of putting it. But Tottenham fans got something to be happy for. Ange did say "mate" 6 times in the post match.
The mate G was very strong in this game. It was above the normal.
It was always going to wear thin, right? This whole. This whole friendly Ange thing is always, it's always going to go downhill, isn't it? As soon as he gets stressed, the mates become a little bit more aggressive. Suddenly, instead of the nice Australian guy you meet down the pub, he turns out to be the nasty Australian guy you meet down the pub. And there's a big difference there. There's a big difference.
Yeah.
You definitely don't want to meet one coming out of the urinals.
Yeah, I think that... I don't know why everyone's got so absorbed with him being Australian. Like, great, well done. But
we just never seen it before.
Tottenham, like they started well this season, but it was always going to happen. It's Tottenham. They do Spursy things. There's literally a saying, universal across all football fans, in that they're a bit Spursy. Like they thought they won the league, 3 weeks ago? And now look at them. They're going to get relegated.
Yeah, it's not looking great. And I'd argue there's nothing more Spursy than conceding not once, but twice after 90 minutes. It's quite impressive how they lost this game. But if we talk about moments, that goal by Sarabia, he's not done very much since he joined the PSV. He's definitely a Jorge Mendes special, where he's like, you want this guy? Plays for PSG, very, very good. 30 years old, 4 mil, done. Never see from him again. But I feel like he's paid it all back with 1 goal because it was so disgustingly good. Like, to juggle it, running full pelt, and then just smash it in with the other foot. Oh, it's mental.
But it was quality work.
Yeah, it really was.
He just let straight loose, touched it. That was quality touch to the first touch. I mean, the second touch was beautiful as well, but that first touch on the volley, just to control it and put it into his path. Awesome.
He just killed it dead in midair.
I think we saw 50 Shades of Wolves in that game, right? I think last time I was on, we spoke about...
Like an awful premise for a book. 50 Shades of Wolves.
But like
Matthias Cunha.
They're a good team, right?
After chance.
They're a good team. They just can't score. So it's inevitable that the one game that they score, a worldie, then they also go on to win the game, right? I think that that's the problem with Wolves, is if they've got someone who can score a goal, they're actually a really threatening team. And I think that throughout the game, they were causing Tottenham problems. It's just they didn't have anyone to put it away. I mean, I think Hwang missed a chance, which is pretty much a sitter in like the 18th minute or something.
That was so bad. He just missed the goal. He completely missed the goal. What I would say about Wolves, they're like, Neto and Hwang were carrying them for the first 10 games. Now Hwang's just done that. I feel like that's the end of Hwang's hot streak, which is fine. It's fair. He's already bettered last season's goal contributions.
Yeah, he's done his
I don't know what happens with Pedro Neto. Like, I don't know how long he's injured for. Is he injured? Is he fine? I can't remember. but maybe
Neto's
it's now
always
Sarabia.
injured.
Yeah,
Neto's always injured or maybe injured. He is an absolutely quality player, but he's almost as reliable as Thiago. Says it.
I feel like this season under Gary O'Neill, you're actually seeing Wolves where you might have seen them previously. They're making these runs and they were dribbling into areas where you could affect the game very little. They seem to have transformed into a team where their dribbles are making sense now. The balls that they're playing are making sense. They're attacking more dangerous parts of the pitch. So I don't know if you need. If you think about the goal scoring, anyone. If you put in front of the goal, anyone could score a goal. Manan could score a goal if you put her in front, and hit on 6 pence. But you need a top class goal scorer if you want to be scoring goals that have maybe a 10 to 20% average goal scoring rate. But if you're getting into the box, good balls in, right positions, you're probably going to score more likely. And that seems to be what we're seeing from Wolves this season.
They do, but overall they massively underperform their XG because they actually do lack that focal point. Just imagine everything about Wolves that you put like Ollie Watkins in there, or Ivan Toney, or literally anyone who's half decent scoring goals. They're immediately top 10 team, like immediately.
Yeah,
because everything else is really good.
Yeah.
They don't concede a lot of goals. They work really hard. Like they have really, really nasty wingers, but they're just shit at scoring goals. Like even in this, that's a wonder goal, and then literally the last kick of the game. Like that's not a process to build a game plan on. Be like, Sarabia, can you just do that again next game? Yeah, perfect. Yeah, we'll just send that ball to you again, and you just do what you did. Yeah, cool. Like it's not. And
I guarantee it won't happen again.
Ever. That is the last time we'll ever see Sarabia. But yeah, I think they're doing bits, Wolves.
Does he get into the frame?
Fabio Silva is shit. He's so shit at football. Yeah. He's like, like what we did with Ryan Brewster to Sheffield United. That's what Jorge Mendes has done to Wolves. He's young. He scored a lot of goals in the under-19s. Would you like him? He's only 35 million. It's only 35 million. It's a bargain. He'll be double that next year. And he scored one goal for Wolves maybe? He's just rubbish. He's not that guy. But yeah, I think Gary O'Neill's doing bits, to be honest. I think he's actually a really, really good young coach. Like,
I think
the two jobs he's had, he's elevated those teams massively. Like, Wolves were a mess last season. And even in the summer, like, the coach left. They were spending no money. They got rid of Ruben Neves, their best player. They looked pretty doomed. I thought they were going to get relegated. And he's just brought the good vibes immediately. Like, they look like Wolves that I remember. Like, not a nice team to play against. You're not surprised if
you don't want to go up against
cause
them.
upsets. No, exactly.
Yeah,
like it's not like other games.
But I think that Gary O'Neill proved last year with Bournemouth that he was a good manager. I was surprised that they got rid of him. It was Bournemouth, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. It was Bournemouth.
Yeah, Bournemouth. Yeah. So I was surprised that they got rid of him, considering the job that he'd done to keep them up in the end. After they were shit. And I think
I agree.
He didn't deserve that. So actually, you know what? Credit to him. He's come into Wolves, into a team that can't score goals, but kept keeping them afloat. And they're 12th in the league at the moment. And you had, as you said, you had a goal scorer into that team, which I think they'll get eventually. They're a top 10 team, right? And we've seen how quickly things can turn around. Look at the likes of Villa, who were absolutely shambolic, and now they're fighting for European places. And Wolves are one of those fringe teams that the right pieces come into play, they could be that too.
Yeah.
Well, good win for Wolves, and Tottenham all everything's fallen down. So let's see how it goes next week. Yeah. But speaking of Bournemouth,
he knows how to segue this guy.
Exactly. I'm learning from the best over here. Speaking of Bournemouth, going into a 2-0 win over Newcastle. We love to see it.
Do you know what I call this? Hollywood money versus Saudi money. And the Hollywood script got written. The underdog story, That's beautiful.
It's just, I think that Newcastle have shown that they are a good team. But they are what Man City were under Mark Hughes. And they need someone to come in and rejig the team and that manager to take them to the next level. I think that I like Eddie Howe, but can he do what the other top elite managers can do in the Champions League? I don't think so. Look at what Unai Emery's. I think if Unai Emery went to Newcastle, for example, he would propel them to the next level. Like Eddie Howe is not that level of manager.
I was disagreeing with everything you said until you said Emery. Yeah, I was like, Eddie Howe's doing a great job. They've got so many injuries. Like, I think they've got like 14 injuries or something ridiculous. But then you said Unai Emery, and he's also juggling 2 games a week and smashing it. So then I was like, he does have a point. Emery does make it look easy, doesn't he?
Unai Emery's got the track record of winning in Europe, right? And I think that, he's just a different caliber of manager. I think that Eddie Howe could potentially get there, but... Yeah. I think that most managers, having the backing that they've had, I mean, people say they haven't spent a lot relative to what they're worth. They have spent a lot. The team has shifted. It's changed a lot under Eddie Howe. If they want to attract the bigger players, they want to do bigger things in Europe, they need a bigger name manager.
I don't disagree that they will need to move on at some point to be able to win the things that they expect to win. But when we're talking about comparing Eddie Howe and Unai Emery at the moment, Unai Emery at Villa, they're beating Genk, whereas Newcastle are beating PSG. There's a slightly different golfing class there. Got different games that you have to prepare for. I'm sure that Eddie Howe is putting a lot of his efforts into making sure that they try and beat Dortmund, who are very tactical in the way that they play, versus trying to beat Bournemouth on the weekend. First time in the Champions League, they want to showcase what they can do, right? And it's a part of both building their national but also international fan base as well. If they're starting to get better and better in the Champions League.
I think that it's a fair point. But does Eddie Howe have what it takes to sustain the success of last year and in continuing that whilst having the Champions League in place? I don't think so. I think that it's one or the other for them. It's the Champions League or it's the top 4. And that's when you become one of those floaty teams. Whereas Newcastle have so much money that they can't afford to be a floaty team. And it's the same thing happened with City when they had Mark Hughes and then they went, who was it? Roberto Mancini afterwards, right? Roberto Mancini propelled the club forward. Even though Mark Hughes was doing a good job, right? But it was him who took the team forward. And I think that's what Newcastle need. If they want to fulfill the ambitions...
You are right, but it's very harsh.
I don't think it is harsh.
I think it is really harsh.
But you are right.
I think he's doing such a good job, but you are right. It's the ruthless business. It's a winning business. And Eddie Howe has no track record. Everything he's done great. Mm. He's got the most out of everyone. He's made Joelinton probably the best midfielder in the entire world. He's done so many things well. But them's the breaks, It's like when flipping Southampton brought Pochettino in and got rid of Nigel Atkins. Everyone was like, that's so harsh. He's done so well. And they were like, shut up. There's a better manager. He's gone. And it's like, if there's a better player, you just buy him. Be like, oh, yeah, nice. Cheers for those 20 goals last season.
But in Newcastle's world, buying a better player, they could slap 200 million down on someone and it's pocket change if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Right? But is it £200 million? Isn't Erling Haaland going to go to Newcastle? No.
Not yet.
I don't think so.
Give it time.
Exactly, not yet. Don't get me wrong, Newcastle are a massive team. Like, I think people forget that they are a huge team, right? I'd say Villa are actually a bigger team than Newcastle in the grand scheme of things because they've actually won a European Cup. But, Newcastle are a big team. And Joe's right in that they are building their international brand at the moment. But the point still stands. And Erling Haaland isn't going to go to Newcastle, but they have Erling Haaland money. And so it's, how many of these results, how many bad results, what happens if they get knocked out of the Champions League and then they're too far off of the top 4, they don't get Champions League again next year, then all the work that they've done goes out the window.
God,
do you know what's quite funny with this as well? Newcastle, they're playing an interesting strategy. I do agree with you, they have got Erling Haaland money. And a team like Newcastle is any team, to be honest, in the financial fair play ruling is allowed to have 3 seasons where they have a loss, I believe. I think that's the way it is. They're allowed 3 seasons where you get loss making.
Unless it's Man City, because then you can just get sponsorships. right?
To be fair, I am comparing Saudi against Saudi or Qatari against Saudi, so it is fair.
Nah,
but
bro, there's
I wonder
levels to this.
What the strategy. I wonder. There's some strategy to this. Obviously, they're trying to. I don't know how their financials were when they were under the previous owner, Mike Ashley. I don't know if they made a loss, and they're.
I don't think they ever made a loss because they didn't fucking spend any money.
Or what they're doing.
That was the whole thing. They literally didn't buy anyone for like 5 years, and then all of a sudden they bought Almiron for like 30 mil, and everyone lost their minds. Weird period. Okay. So I have a question for you. If you don't mind, because I think this is a very interesting thing, and I want to get a Chelsea opinion on it. The Premier League clubs are voting on forbidding ownership groups from loaning or buying players from clubs within that ownership group. Specifically, they're looking at Newcastle and Saudi Arabia because they want to basically...
Neves, right?
Ruben Neves is basically... Bear in mind, that's not even definitely happening. They just want to block Newcastle being able to raid the Saudi league and use that advantage because they're all owned by Saudi Arabia. But it got me thinking... Would this even go through? Because Man City are part of an 11-club conglomerate now. Chelsea have got Vitesse, and I think maybe a French club as well, Strasbourg, maybe, or something.
We haven't got Vitesse. We haven't got Vitesse.
Okay.
We just used to have.
It feels like you've got Vitesse.
No. Roman Abramovich had a very friendly relationship with the owner of Vitesse. That was how it worked back in the day. But,
all right.
But now Roman's gone.
Friendly.
We do. Yeah, you are correct.
Russian billionaires and friendly relationships. It's not aged well.
But I quite like the idea of when you buy a player from a club, whether it's your club in your ownership group or another club. Every time you buy a player, the Premier League will review the purchase as to whether it's fair market value. So you can't just have a Newcastle buying a player from X club at a highly inflated price to up their market value as a club. So there has to be some sort of fair value in it. But I do agree that you shouldn't just be able to loan a player from another club that maybe has more money just because it is beneficial for you at a certain point in time. I think there has to be some kind of thinking beyond that. So,
I think that the problem is not the way around that you said it, is that you can buy it at an inflated price against fair market value. It's that Newcastle could probably go to Al Hilal, I'm going to give you £20 million, when they bought him for 60, 70, because really the money's staying within the organisation. So they're not making the loss. So
that's
Newcastle,
what I mean. You can't do that. You can't do that. That's against Premier League rules to be able to do that already. Now we're talking about loaning, though. And I think
now we're talking about loaning. I think the other interesting part about this is that Manchester United, Jim Ratcliffe's about to potentially take 25%. He owns Nice as well, and they fancy a couple of, one of the centre backs from Nice. So it all just gets very muddled. All this self-interest comes into the vote. And I personally think everyone's just trying to do a big fuck you because everyone's so scared about Newcastle. But I just don't think it's going to go through because everyone's so self-interested. Because, hear me out, aren't Crystal Palace and Bournemouth linked? Or Chelsea and Crystal... I feel like someone's linked to Crystal Palace because they're all part of some sort of American consortium. I feel like there's it's all based... Everyone's just owned by the same people. It's
under the hood. It's Steve Parish that owns Crystal Palace. I don't know if there's any link there to another Premier League team.
It was Bournemouth and someone else. I can't remember. Because everyone's got minority stakeholders as well, which is where it gets even more confusing.
But
I think the only egregious...
multi-club ownership is a really tough kind of topic right now because we've already gone down the rabbit hole and we're smiling at the Cheshire Cat. We're in a position where the football game is, you've got Salzburg who's playing in the same league or in the Champions League as RB Leipzig in some years. Now that was always against the rules. You can't have two clubs playing in the same competition, but now for some reason it's allowed because they're two top clubs from these leagues. At which point do we start saying, if a multi-club ownership model exists, that you have too much weighting in the favour of someone like the City Group, who, as you can see, Girona, who's owned by the City Group, is number one in the Liga right now. What happens there? you know, and there's got to be a lot stricter governance around this kind of multi-club ownership in the
it just shows that financial fair play is a whole load of bollocks, right? It doesn't, because if you want to find a way to finesse it, you can, and you can do it quite easily through multi-club structures. You know, as you mentioned, the most obvious and egregious one in recent history is really Salzburg players that go to Leipzig. You've got, you know, the likes of the next Steven Gerrard, Dominic Szoboszlai, Benjamin Sesko's gone there, Upamecano, but they've all come up, and then they've all gone on to you know, be sold by Leipzig for how much money when they've bought them for like £2.50 from Salzburg, right? So like it's a really difficult topic because there's no rules against owning multiple clubs as a conglomerate. There is as an individual. So if I owned Liverpool, I couldn't then go and individually buy Everton. Not that I'd want to do that,
no.
But you know what I mean.
Well,
but if we all owned it and we had other diversified businesses, then we could buy Everton. You see what I mean? So like, I don't know. It's a really difficult. I don't know how you manage it.
That's kind of what I mean by us going this far down the rabbit hole, because you know you have RB Leipzig who have their own fans, who have their own community, who have their own kind of culture. So you have RB Salzburg who have their own fans, their own community, their own culture, as any football club has. And you know, now let's say if you try to implement governance now, which stop them from playing in the same competition, the Salzburg fans are going to be the ones that suffer, right? A fan group is going to suffer by losing their perch of success that they're in at the moment. And that's going to impact the whole football pyramid.
Yeah, I think unfortunately the horse has bolted. You can't row back on these things. It's too deeply ingrained. Like they could have stopped Man City at like 2. Now it's at 11. Like how do you stop that? It's out of control. They could say no more. You can't take it back. Now it's open. The issue is, I think, that buying football clubs was supposed to be for really rich individuals like local businessmen. Then it became like rich people anywhere in the world. Now it's become like conglomerates, like groups of wealthy individuals who want to buy into a fund. So it's like the group of people that can actually afford to buy a football club, which is kind of not a good deal generally, is very small. And so it's just like, it is what it is. The only way I reckon it gets
sold...
It's
a glamour project for them.
Yeah. Is if companies start buying them in the same way that, like, I don't know, like Elon Musk, like makes Manchester United like the ex-United or something. Because then they do acquisitions of companies all the time for like way more money than football clubs ever go for. But what's the point? Like, what's the point of it? It's out of control.
That's kind of what's happened. Like if you look at the City Group or Blueco, who own Chelsea, their companies. Their ownership structure is made from these people who own funds, including Todd Bowley, Egbali, whoever they have at Clear Lake Capital in that fund. That's another company. You know, the company is Blueco, the company is City Group. I'm sure that Newcastle have their own company. And to what you're saying, I think that is the right way to go, to have independent governance on the company that doesn't have a direct relationship to the owners who might have multi-club structures underneath them. You know, Jim Radcliffe might have Nice and Man United, but then you just have to remove Jim Radcliffe from any decision making, or have an independent authority that can assess every decision that Man United make to see if there is some kind of underlying benefit to one or many of the multi-club members. And, you know,
that's just never going to happen, is it? Way too complicated. Basically,
money flows in the right direction.
We fucked it. We've absolutely fucked it. And we should all support more of our local teams realistically if we want actual honest football that's not just a big fucking corporate machine. And seeing as we're getting towards the end of the pod, I feel like that's a good opportunity to speak about a local team that's doing very well at the moment. And that's FC Copenhagen. So Joe's based in Copenhagen and they're doing bits in the Champions League. So for all the Danish listeners, turn up your headphones. It's about to get litty.
Fantastic, wasn't it? Fantastic. I don't know if you guys saw the game the other day, but I feel like I'm that guy, you know, that kid from that meme. Oh, the atmosphere was electric. It was wild. No, it was just,
the 50-year-old man inside the 10-year-old's body.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But no, it was a fantastic game. FC Copenhagen were absolutely incredible. I understand that they benefited from a red card, which obviously sent the Man United down to 10 men. But you saw that from the point that Man United got sent down to 10 men, they basically shriveled up like a prune and did just a low block against FC Copenhagen for the whole rest of the game, allowing Copenhagen in to score 4 goals home. And before the match, what was hilarious, a lot of my friends went there and they said the atmosphere was just incredible. They had this big banner, like when the Champions League anthem came on, they shut down all the lights and they had one part of the stadium lit up, which was this banner across the seats of the fans, showing like caricatures of the Red Devil being like beaten by the Copenhagen
no fucking way. That is so sick.
And
love that.
Above
love
it,
that.
it just said, this is your theatre of nightmares rather than theatre of dreams. So referring back to all the times that FC Co had beat them from before. It was very
unreal.
Good. Very
and
good
it played
banter.
out that way as well, which is great. My question to you is, why are FC Copenhagen so prevalent now? Like, is there something different? Have they suddenly come into a lot of money? Is it just that Danish players or Scandinavian players all go to FC Copenhagen now? Because I feel like
that's a good question.
That's a real hotbed of talent now. Like, a lot of good players are coming out of the Nordics all at once, and that's where all the scouts go for the next big thing.
They've got the next big wonder kid. Well, at least according to Football Manager, Rooney Bardry, who also scored in the game. But genuinely, he looked class. Like in the gaming circles, people who play Football Manager, a lot of people have been speaking about this kid, and so seeing it in person, it's not like back in the day when Freddie Adu was the guy on Championship Manager, but then was shit in real life. And he got to see him score against United. It was great to see. The 17-year-old coming on in the Champions League and scoring a banger against United. That is, a thing of dreams.
And he's called Rooney. Amazing.
He's such a regen, isn't he? He's not a real player. Like, he's a regen. There's no way that anyone's just called Rooney, who happens to be a striker, who's also a wonder kid. I'm not having.
And now there's sources saying that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is eyeing up Rooney Badgery as Man United's first signing when he takes over.
So you can't make it up. You can't make it up, can you? Some things never change. Man United overpaying.
Exactly. But Copenhagen has a few players that have come out of it recently who have looked quite good. Can't name them by names, but I know they've gone to a few prevalent teams in the European competitions. So look forward to seeing them. I think there's one at Leverkusen actually who's doing quite well. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting time, and just love to see it. I'd love to see Copenhagen go through to the next round, because get out of the group stage is just a ridiculous achievement. I have no idea.
Don't know.
But it would be brilliant, wouldn't it?
Seems unlikely, right? That would be mental. Yeah, I think
they've got Galatasaray and who's the other team in the table?
It's Man United, Galatasaray, and I think is it Bayern? Or is that a different group?
Yeah, it's Bayern.
It is Bayern. And what's amazing to see is United are at the bottom of that group. It's great.
The best part is Man United have to go to Galatasaray in Turkey. And no matter who you are, if that's the game you need to win, it's going to be hard. If you're Man United, you're going to make that so bad. It's going to be a heavy 2-0 loss. Like, the pressure's going to get to them. Harry Maguire's going to score an own goal. Although, credit to him, he's actually been their best player the last 5 games. But that also says a lot.
Thank you for giving us a segue there, both to have a little bit of fun with Man United, but also to promote FC Copenhagen.
Mate, we're here for FC Copenhagen, doing bits. We're here for the local teams done good, and as long as they're not secretly a Saudi club, I fully back them and endorse them. So here's my last question to you. Why are there so many red cards in the Premier League this season? Because I'll give you a stat. There's been 27 red cards so far this season already. Last season, whole season, 30 red cards in the Premier League. 30. So we are 3 red cards away from our total from last season. And as far as I can tell, the record is 81 red cards in a season, which seems astronomically high to me. But the data is very bad online. So, yeah, my question is, we're about, a third of the way through the season? We're exactly a third of the way to 81. So, what the fuck is going on, and why so many red cards?
Two words.
Liverpool's got half of them, by the feel of it.
Yeah. We do have
seems
four.
Like whenever one of our players breathes, whenever one of our players breathes near anyone, they get sent off. I don't know. It's just weird. It's like the officials are trying to take control of the game more, but they're just showcasing that they can't control it and making stupid decisions. Like somebody like the Curtis Jones one, and that was a red card. It's never a red card. It's not a red card because the referee didn't call it a red card. So like it wasn't a clear and obvious mistake, but it seems like that clear and obvious mistake piece has been taken out and it's just gone. This is the opinion of a bloke in the VAR versus the referee's opinion. The bloke in VAR has more power than the referee. Like that's how it seems. And I don't know, just I guess the whole thing is like it's player protection and all that crap, but like you've got to let there be something. It's a contact sport. You've got to let there be something. No one wants to see a leg break. No one wants to see serious foul play. But some of these challenges that are getting called red cards are just a joke. And then you've got obviously secondary yellows. I think referees aren't being as lenient as they once were on that secondary yellow. So, like before, it's like, that whole argument, if that was outside the box, that would be a foul. But it was inside the box, so it's not. I feel like now it's that, it doesn't matter. Like, it's just, if it's a foul, it's a yellow card.
Yeah, I agree.
Joel Matip got a yellow card the other day for no reason.
Yeah.
And he very easily could have got a second yellow.
There was that period in the first 5 games where they were like, if you look at me, I will yellow card you. If you even talk to me, if you swear at me, you're off, gone. And there was that guy who literally did a tackle, got up and went, what? And they were like, right, that's it. That's outrageous. Get off the pitch now.
Get out.
And it's just like, they just lost their heads, like but they've overcorrected again.
They want the respect that rugby refs get, but they don't command the game enough. They don't know the game well enough to get that respect. It's like, you can't tell me what to do if you don't have a fucking clue how to do it yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like, how am I going to respect that opinion? And it feels like that's the point it's got to. Don't get me wrong. Players do take the piss, and they take the piss a lot. But I just feel like the refs are they're not of a high enough standard. And that's what it's come down to. But it's a conundrum.
It's just a conundrum. Because if everyone criticises the refs, why do you want to be a referee? So you just
wanted to say conundrum, didn't you?
I did. And then it's just like the only ones that come through are tough ones.
You guys are pressing for a fine from the Premier League at some point soon, aren't you?
Potentially, yeah. Chat like this. So, right, final question of the pod.
Everyone's getting a fine.
So, eagle-eyed viewers will notice that this is the second pod in a row that Joseph Doherty is just eating on the pod. So, the real question is, what's for dinner, mate?
Okay, today, my partner, Julia, she has cooked us up a lovely tortellini soup. So, it's about 10 p.m. local time over here, and quite late, you'd say, for dinner. So I didn't want to hold off any longer. I've been enjoying a little bit of soup in the last 5 minutes.
So there you go, listener.
Everyone's up for the next one.
Yeah, if you like long chats about football, red cards, and what Joe had for dinner, then come back next time because he'll be eating again, and it'll be enjoyable. So yeah, I think that's a wrap. Thank you very much, Ash. Thank you very much, Joe. Thank you very much, listener.
Pleasure, bro.
See you next week for some more fun stuff.